My name is Khalil Young, and I will be answering the second prompt for the graduation essay contest. And one of the number one problems with education in today's society is I think a lot of people emphasize more the grade aspect of education than actually being taught, learning, like actually understanding what they are taught. Because, for example, a lot of students will go through school stumbling and say, hey, I passed with a 60. And well, yes, that's nice. You're on to the next part, but most of the time they don't even get the building blocks that they needed in middle school, high school, and elementary school. They'll just pass you through. So, and like, how could they ever succeed in an algebra 2 class not knowing how to multiply and divide when the teacher expects you to come in already knowing that things? Because on this little piece of paper, it says you passed the class, which means you should know all this information taught in the class prior, which when they were just passed through, they never got those building blocks that they needed. It's like having a table with no foundation. It's just a plank on the floor. It's not even a table because it never had that foundation that it needed to stand. And even for the students' part, like actually like knowing and comprehending what you are learning is so like interesting beyond belief because before I took my AP chemistry class, I've seen water boil all my life, and I never really questioned why does it boil at that temperature at 100 degrees Celsius. And within the class, like you learn about all the intermolecular forces, the hydrogen bonding of this water molecule that's bent, it's polar, and it overcomes those forces exactly at 100 degrees Celsius, thus it boils at 100 degrees Celsius. I didn't know that until this year, and I'm a senior, and I've been through school for all these years, and I'm just now learning that. So imagine me trying to comprehend all this information, not even knowing that water boiled at 100 degrees Celsius. So how could people expect these students to come out of high school strong when they barely have all the building blocks that they needed and that they did not get because they were just passed through and did not get these building blocks because they went for school for the grade and not actually education. And even that, like me personally, I find it very interesting how to know all these little minute little things work. Like it's crazy to me on how why people just go to school for a grade and not actually like knowing things. Because imagine going that and actually planning to go to college after that. College is a whole different ball game, at least what other people say. And that they're not going to sit there and hold your hand like they were supposed to in high school and middle school. They're just going to give you this work and they're going to expect you to know it. Because since you don't have those building blocks, how could you do that? And then we end up with people dropping out of college because they never got those fundamental building blocks back when they needed it because they got the grade, passed, and still walked away with nothing. So yes, they did good. They did good enough on paper, but instead they still walked away with not knowing the things that they needed to know. This is definitely a big problem in today's society because this is why we have like the cap of all these wanted jobs all the way up here, but the people that can actually do them is all the way down here because they're not getting what they needed to get back in school. And to be honest, I don't think this could be fixed in today's society because the grades are for they motivate you to do the work. So and the work allows you to more fundamentally understand the information. And you just can't have grades because people just wouldn't do that, and then they will never learn. And a lot of people can't just learn just by word of ear. So I don't think it can be fixed. I think it's more on the students' part to want to learn the information. But it's not only on the students, it's also with the teachers. Teachers also need to be working their hardest to make sure the students know and not just giving them a piece of paper instead of doing it every class. They actually need to be walked through, learn, like held a little bit, and allow them so they have their building blocks to know what they're supposed to be doing. So when they are just thrown out there, they have somewhat of an understanding of what they're supposed to be doing and how they can get it done. So I just feel like students should also just take hold of their education, not just wanting a grade. Yes, the grade is great. It validates what you know, but it's not always the best indicator of how you actually comprehend the information. So yeah, that's one of the biggest problems in today's society. And I don't think it could be fixed. I think it could be fixed to a degree, but I feel like it's mainly on the student and a little bit of the teacher. And yeah, that's what I have to say about the subject.